Okay, hello, Tom Maguire. This is a review on Michelle Obama's Becoming. Now, you probably don't need me to tell you that this book is very highly rated. It gets 4.5 stars on Goodreads from about 500,000 reviews, which, if you're into reading and you ever check reviews, you'll realise that that's really, really quite high. On Audible, the audiobook gets, I can't remember, but it's in the tens of thousands of reviews, all giving it 5 stars, 5 out of 5. So it's crazily highly rated. I'd seen it was highly rated for a while. I fancied reading it. I fancied listening to it. As soon as I realised it was narrated by Michelle Obama, then the audiobook was definitely for me. The idea of having Michelle Obama in your ears reading you a book was pretty impressive, I thought. It might sound a bit gimmicky, but I thought it was really good. Someone as famous as her reading you her story, I think that's brilliant. And it's more authors are doing that nowadays with the audiobooks. They're reading them. It does add that sense of authenticity as well. And she's giving quite a lot of vulnerability and honesty in the book. So to hear her voice as well just gives it that extra something. It's really, really good. It's fantastically good. If you don't listen to any more of this review, then take it from me. It's really good. Go out and buy it, basically. But if you do want to stay for a little while, please please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And, why not? It doesn't hurt, does it? It's not going to change anything for you. It might just give me a little bit of an ego boost or make me feel as though this is worthwhile. It is worthwhile. I enjoy doing this. It's good fun doing it. What was I going to say? Yeah, I'm going to tell you why it's a really good book for anyone who is thinking about becoming a parent or who is a parent already. So that could be interesting. Why it's a brilliant personal development book. I know this channel this channel is about personal development. The idea is that I read a book and then I take the ideas from it that I can implement in my life to make a positive change in a personal development way, and then how you can do that as well. So what about this book makes it a personal development book? I will tell you that. And of course, I'll give you my favourite part of the book as well, just to give you my all-important opinion on it. But anyway, yeah, brilliant. Really good book. So she talks about, for the first good few hours or good little while, she talks about her upbringing in the south side of Chicago, which I think is really interesting. I've seen reviews where people have said that it goes on a bit too long and they got a bit bored. But I think it's such an interesting story. And being someone who doesn't know the first thing about growing up in the 70s in the south side of Chicago as a black woman, I should say, it was really interesting. It was just, really interesting to hear what she had to say about her family, her friends, the different things, the discrimination that they had to put up with, the way that shaped her family, like her uncle and her granddad. One of her granddads was quite negative, she said, and she used to kind of like go back at him sometimes, give him a bit of grief. But she said that in the end that she kind of sympathised with him and empathised with him because she could see that he was just a man who had basically been kind of kept down for so many years, didn't have the same chances that he should have, or didn't have the chances he should have done. For his level of intelligence, he was only ever going to get to a certain level in his job and in his work and stuff. So that kind of resentment and bitterness basically got to him, is how she put it, which is interesting to hear. She talks about her own insecurities as well, and her own determination to better herself, and how her parents were kind of instrumental in that, basically, how they worked really hard and were 100% dedicated to the kids, to her and her brother Craig. How she was quite sort of practical and strategic and kind of safe in her approach, kind of thing, which was interesting. She wanted to get into Princeton, so she had big ambitions to get there. And she was told by some woman on one of these panels, I think, how she didn't think she was Princeton material really, but of course she got into it. She got into Princeton, and she says how part of her wanted to kind of go back and say to her, but actually what was the point in that, so that was quite interesting. So yeah, the parents, I really liked hearing about them. Her dad was like a real stoic. He suffered with MS for years and years, and he just got on with it, basically. And she just talks about how he never really used to complain. He used to have a sense that he wasn't particularly well, and it used to worry her, as it would, obviously. He had this car, this Buick Electra, I think it was, that he absolutely loved. Talks about how that got keyed one day, scratched by someone, and how his reaction was like really kind of quite impressive, basically, for someone who loved his car. He just kind of sucked it up, got on with it, took it to the car repair place as soon as possible and got it sorted. So different things. I would say her parents were really, they sounded absolutely lovely. They sounded fantastic parents, and a lot of people in her situation, from her kind of class and background at the time wouldn't have had such a nice upbringing. So that was quite interesting. They didn't have a lot of money, particularly. I don't think. I didn't get the impression they were desperately poor, but they didn't have a lot. The parents, worked really, really hard for what they did have, but just really nice and humble, and just dedicated and hardworking. It was just really impressive, I thought, the way she painted a picture of her parents. Her brother Craig was a basketball player. He managed to go on and do pretty well, I think, out of basketball. Got to quite a high standard. She talks about how he was quite popular in the area. People knew him and stuff, and how he kind of paved the way in school because he was really liked. And then when she got there, she was following in his already kind of his positive kind of glow kind of thing. Talks about how her mum was always really supportive, but not too kind of overbearing. How she would go to her mum with problems, but she would be quite zen-like towards her. She wouldn't really kind of tell her what to do, but she would just kind of be quite quietly guiding, really, and would almost let them make their mistakes, which, when we're talking about personal development and entrepreneurship and things, some of the most successful people are people who haven't been too kind of helicoptered, I suppose, in a way. They've kind of been allowed to get on and make their mistakes and bounce back and learn from it, I suppose. So that was interesting to hear. We come across Barack Obama, obviously, at some point, which is really interesting, how they got together. And I won't give any kind of spoilers on these bits, because it would ruin the book really to go into too much detail. But it's lovely hearing about that and the detail. It's lovely hearing about her idea of, or her opinion on their personality differences, how she's quite she's a planner and she's quite safe, and if she's given an opportunity to sort of better herself, she'll take it. Whereas Barack sort of sounded a bit more like an entrepreneur, quite open in his personality and risk taking, but also quite laid back and not too worried kind of thing. And it sounded as though that used to irk Michelle a little bit, but it was interesting. They seemed to come together and work well as a team. One seemed to be good for the other, which is good, I think. We hear about when they got engaged as well. We hear about them having counselling at one point, so it's a bit of a spoiler, I know, sorry, but yeah, that was really good to hear that she wasn't too proud to talk about that. They weren't too proud to have it in the first place because they felt they needed it. Sounded like an amazing couple, basically. Really interesting. Their kids, their dedication to their kids when it comes to the campaign for Barack, how Michelle was, they were obviously really protective. They did all they possibly could to bring them up in the most normal way possible. Didn't want to put them in any danger, too much of the spotlight, it was all inevitable stuff, difficult to kind of get away from, but she did her absolute best with that. The crap that they got from the media, how the media were digging up stuff on Michelle, like an essay she'd written at Princeton, or even before then it might have been. She'd written an essay years ago, and they tried to make out that she was some kind of terrorist, something ridiculous. They tried to make out that Barack wouldn't swear on the Bible, or wouldn't do something, wouldn't take the oath or something, or basically wasn't happy to be an American, basically, is what they were trying to make out with him, which just a load of rubbish. And Fox News saying that she was militantly angry and things, and so all this nasty kind of mudslinging that went on, which I can't particularly remember at the time, but I wasn't necessarily paying close attention to that stuff, and I suspect it was more kind of obvious over in America anyway, although I'm sure we would have heard of it in our news. But yeah, just the whole thing, just really fascinating. And my favourite part of the book, I suppose, almost kind of bookends it, I suppose, towards the beginning. She talks about, she's there making cheese on toast for herself, and she's talking about the normality of that and how nice that is. And I think that was really good for me, because that was kind of this idea that no matter how successful you are, or whatever it is that you've got, if you can't have those basic small things in life that kind of make you feel secure and safe, and if you can't go make cheese on toast and feel comfortable, in your slippers, and and be left alone, then what's it all for, kind of thing. And then towards the end of the book, she talks about them leaving their mark on the White House, and how they'd brought in some different paintings to kind of leave a bit of a stamp there. And just how they're obviously being the first black family in the White House, and how they're paving the way for other people of different ethnic backgrounds. Just quite magical, I thought, really, and just so significant historically, and yeah, just the picture she painted of Barack, I just think he just sounded pretty cool the whole way through, really. They go over to Hawaii at one point, and she meets his family over there, his grandma and things, and she talks about how she can see what attracted, how they kind of got together, because their families are both kind of similar in so many ways. But yeah, I don't know what else to say about it really. It's a really nice book. Loads of detail. Like I say, some people might say it's too much. I thought it was absolutely spot on. It was lovely to have that detail. I could have even had more potentially. But yeah, not the sort of book that I would normally be particularly into, I suppose, but definitely really enjoyed it. I'd listen to it again, actually, and I would certainly consider reading it as well, because I like listening to audiobooks. I find more time to get through more books that way, but I do prefer to sit down and read a book if I can. So at some point I might sit down and read it. I think it's definitely a real worthwhile one. Definitely a 5-star from me as well, which is quite unusual. One of the better ones for sure. Yeah, so please like and subscribe if you want to get more videos. I will be doing another review very soon. There's a book that came out in May called Breath. There's more to the title, which I will edit in afterwards, but that's been, I'm 2 or 3 hours into that. That's really good. So yeah, bear with me. I'll keep these videos coming. Please look me up on Instagram as well, at Maguire Total Coaching, and also on Facebook. I do a lot of one-to-one coaching, helping people reach their potential. But also I do a lot of webinars as well on personal development as well on Facebook. So yeah, basically I'm passionate about personal development and helping people reach their potential. So cheers, thanks very much for listening. Speak again soon.